Welcome to Sitter Confessional, an open and honest discussion about life as a pet sitter. Today, we're brought to you by our friends at Tide Pet and Pet Perennials. Scaling our businesses means many different things. It could be adding one employee, it could be growing in a new service area, or it could mean franchising our business. No matter what the scale of our business, relationships are at the core of making sure we have a strong foundation. And that's why we're really excited to be speaking with Amy Addington today, president and co-founder of Woofie, a franchise of dog walking and pet sitting businesses across the country here in the United States. She talks about the importance of branding and maintaining consistency and how it's not all just about turning widgets or cranking out the next thing. It's about building those relationships and making an impact in people's lives. Let's get started.
Sure. And Colin, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Glad to be here today. So I actually started Woofie's 20 years ago. This past September was 20 years with my neighbor, Leslie Barron. We lived across the street from each other. And we quit our corporate jobs and moved into our pet sitting and dog walking business. And I always tell this story, leaving a six-figure corporate salary and everything that entailed, benefits, all of that. And our first day on the job, we walked a set of dogs, Lucky and Cody, for $10. So it was a very humble beginning. And I remember, though, feeling so excited about leaving corporate and doing something that I really loved, because we had a shared passion for animals, and we knew there was a need for a pet sitting dog walking service in our local community. We didn't quite know it that day where it was going to go. But I remember being very excited and just feeling that it was the best $10 I think I've ever earned in my professional career. So
I love that. And I love that you even remember their names of Lucky and
Absolutely.
Cody. They have such an impact on us, don't they? And sometimes in ways that we never really can appreciate. Megan and I were just talking about this the other day in our business of things that we do today, of like how we kind of think it's just common sense, and how if we actually think about it, we can relate it back to some very early experiences with those clients of like, oh my gosh, man, that was a real lesson at that time. I didn't even know it.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I look back in those early days, we didn't have anyone giving us a playbook. We had put a business plan together, of course, before we started the business, but we didn't have any guidance of what to do or, how to handle certain situations or things that would happen, that would come up, that you just learn from experience. So I look back in those early days, and I think in a strange way, it must have, without realizing it, prepared me for franchising, because when I look at our operations manual, it's filled with a lot of things we did well, but a lot of things that went wrong. And because of those things that didn't work, we had to pivot very quickly and create a policy or change the way we were doing things. A lot of trial and error in those early days.
If you ever look at one of those spray cans for spray paint, right on there on the back, it says, do not put in drill press. And I remember thinking, like, why would somebody do that? But at some point, somebody put a can of spray paint in a drill press and tried to put a hole in it. And there are many times in our business where I go, oh, this is our drill press moment, isn't it? This is.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of those moments. Absolutely. But I think you learn from that. That's the key, I think, of building a business. Not everything's going to go right every day. And as best you try, you want everything organized and everything to run smoothly and perfectly. But things happen, but I think it's how you react to it. And if something doesn't go right, learn from it, understand what went wrong, and then what steps do you put in place so it doesn't happen again. So I think you can get a lot of life lessons when something goes wrong. You can't fear it. We don't like it, of course. We don't try to have things go wrong. But if they do go wrong, you need to learn from it. And that'll make you ultimately a better business owner.
That's hard, though, because a lot of times we have to admit, I actually had a role in this, right? I had a role in why this didn't work out. And
That's very humbling, yes.
Yeah, right. So sometimes you're right. Sometimes we just steer away from the bad stuff. We go, nope, I can't deal with that. I'll just move on. And instead of actually taking that time to sit and address it, because otherwise we are never going to learn. And it's just going to happen again and again and again in our businesses.
Yeah. And you can't fear that, it's okay. You do your very best, like I said, to have everything run smoothly, but things happen, life happens, people are involved, animals are involved, the thing. And so you can't beat yourself up. You have to fix it though. You have a responsibility to fix it. That's the thing. You have to look yourself in the mirror and say, okay, maybe this didn't go exactly the way I would have liked with, in this situation, but let me fix it and let me make certain it doesn't happen going forward.
Well, so 20 years ago, you're out on your first dog walk with your neighbor Leslie. What made you go from your six-figure, corporate job? I'm sure you had a trajectory of how you envisioned your life. How did you find yourself behind Lucky and Cody making $10?
Well, 5 each, actually.
So, yes. Okay, fair. Sorry, I'll change that.
It was a big day for me. Yeah. So no, you know what? I've always wanted to have a business. I've always been entrepreneurial ever since I was younger. I always had the passion for animals. That was something that just brings so much joy and meaning to my life. And I'm glad I did corporate for 12 plus years. I got a lot of great experience. And I never look back. I always look at everything as a stepping stone. So I'm really glad that I had that time in corporate. But the more time I spent in corporate, the more it made me realize I want out of corporate. And I want to be my own boss. I want to make my own decisions. I want my success to have a direct impact on me and my life. And so that was something that, talking with Leslie, we had that mutual connection and that passion for animals. And we also were consumers of the service. We both, for different reasons, needed pet sitting services, and we each had a bad experience. And so we knew there was an opportunity there. And I think, there were a lot of people that in our area that maybe just did it on the side, which is great. There's so many amazing companies that start that way. And I think we just felt there was a really unique opportunity to come in and run it the way that we want to from a highly personalized standpoint. We wanted to really go above and beyond for every single customer. And it was just the two of us for quite some time. It was the two of us walking dogs 7 days a week, morning till night. I know you guys can relate to that.
Yeah.
And it was just something that we knew there was an opportunity. And we just wanted to do it in a unique way for us, something that we hadn't experienced yet in our community. So I always tell people, obviously, we didn't create the concept of dog walking 20 years ago. There were people have been doing it for a long time. We just had our way that we wanted to do it, and that type of level of support and kind of really being part of that local community. That was something that was really important to us from the very beginning.
You had a phrase there where you said that you wanted your success to have a direct impact on your life. And I've never heard it put quite like that, Amy, where we look at what we're doing and the effort that we're putting into sometimes for other people. And we go, man, if I put 75% of this effort towards me and what I wanted to do, where could I end up? And that is the beauty of things that we get to do. And that's a reminder that I have to have a lot, some days, a lot of days, especially during the hard ones of, I get to do this. And there is a benefit directly to me and my family because of this work that I'm doing.
Absolutely. And that's something that I think is the core of every entrepreneur. That's why you take the leap and from the comforts of the corporate world. And it can be scary and intimidating, and you can have those challenges. I mean, going through COVID in 2020, that was the worst business challenge we've ever seen. And that hit the pet sitting, dog walking business very hard in those early days when everybody was home. So, but at the end of the day, you have to keep really focused on what you're doing, why you're doing it, and that love of this business. And that's something that drives me to this day, 20 years into it.
Yeah, it is. We have to find that reason, whatever it is, right? And it could be, I want to provide for my family, or it's, like for us, in the very early days, we just had little goals, right? Of like, I need my business to pay for my car insurance, okay, and then I can pay. My business needs to pay for my car insurance and the gas it takes to get to it, whatever. And you can kind of, or maybe it's just a lifestyle that you have of I want to spend more time with my kids, or I want to see my dad on Christmas, or I want to go hang out with friends more. Whatever that is, we have to find that and really make sure that is front and center for us personally, because yes, it's a business that does things for people and it serves people. It makes money and we get to benefit from that for our own purposes and our own ends. And that's okay, right? That's something that we shouldn't feel bad about in the end of it.
Well, and that's the heart of every business owner. At the end of the day, you need to find something that drives you. And in our business, it's very much a passion business, taking care of people's animals. I think it's a huge responsibility. And it's also such, in a great way. I'm always so flattered and feel so respectful when people give us keys to their home and they're trusting us with their pet. And they tell us, I can go away on a vacation now because I have woofies. Like, that is so amazing to me. And that's something that really drives me. So it's not just it's your livelihood and it's your lifestyle, but also you're finding something that has meaning in your life. And for me, that's something, working with animals has always given so much meaning for me. It's something that's just, like you. I mean, it's anyone who goes into this business, I think you have at the core that real passion for taking care of animals. And there's something very rewarding about that.
Yeah, it is finding those, because we do a lot of mundane tasks, right? We have to do a lot of things that we just don't want to do. Say hello to the explosive diarrhea in a kennel.
That's always so much fun,
right? Nobody is like, what I want to do as a pet sitter or dog walker? I want to spend 35 minutes hosing out and sanitizing a kennel from explosive diarrhea. That's just, I would love to do that. But we, and if you're out there, send me an email. But like, if we do that because what do we like? We love the pets, and
you feel bad for the baby,
right? We feel bad. We love them, and we love the person enough to do that for them in this. And yes, we're getting paid for it, but there is that passion of like, sometimes it's like there's no amount of money that would make what I'm doing right now worth it. But because I care about what's the well-being, I'm gonna go through with this.
I always tell people my hardest day in the pet space is still better than a great day in corporate. But yeah, you kind of tapped into one of the tougher times. Sure. I mean, nobody wakes up in the morning and hopes that happens. It is what it is. But, for me, it's when something like that does happen. Yeah, at the very core of it, I feel bad for the animal, and I just want to make the animal feel better and clean them up. And I don't know. That can be tough. Sure. It's not the best part of the job, of course. No. But.
So you started Woofies 20 years ago, and I know now you're franchising and you're expanding in that way. When did that become a goal for you in your business?
So we started in 2004 with the pet sitting and dog walking. We grew that business, brought on some really trusted pet sitters, and built up the pet sitting business. Along the way, we built that relationship. Everything was based on that relationship with the client. Along the way, they kept asking about grooming because nobody was really doing mobile grooming. And we already had the relationship with the clients. And so that's when we started in 2011. We added the mobile grooming piece. And once we added that mobile grooming piece is really where we saw such tremendous growth in the business. It had already grown year after year, but adding the mobile grooming piece, it was just another service offering and another value that we can provide, another service for the customers. So we saw a lot of growth right away when we added the mobile grooming piece. And we had clients. I was in the Northern Virginia area, and can be kind of a transient area with government. And we had a lot of people that would move out of the area or kind of out of our immediate service territory. And they would call us and say, I need a Woofies. Are you going to expand? So we did think about expansion. We thought about, where do we want to take this business? Because we knew we tapped into something in our local community, and we were building a really great team of people, and we were adding the mobile grooming piece. And we started looking, do we add more locations that we own, or do we franchise? And so I went to my first franchise conference in 2015, and I really dug into the franchise industry to really try to understand it, all the nuances, and networked with a ton of people who ended up being amazing mentors for me. But I love the franchise model for a lot of reasons. One is, I feel in this business, if you're going to run a Woofies or any pet sitting, pet services, grooming company, I love the idea of it being a business owner, someone who has the financial investment, the personal investment, the emotional investment. It's their business that they're running in their local communities. So at the core, I love the franchise model. And I also go back to 20 years ago when Leslie and I did make all those mistakes. There were things that we just didn't know because we didn't know. And the industry was a lot less mature at that time too. It's really evolved over the years. And so, being able to give a business owner who has that passion and love to get into the pet business, they want to be part of their local community. They want ownership of that Woofie's business, but also being able to give them an operations manual and all the training and all the playbook and all the, hey, it's ultimately your business, but you may want to think about this because here's what happened and why 20 years ago. And so if I can help any owners avoid that and not have to go through some of that pain of things that maybe didn't go right or because you didn't have certain policies in place or just things that were unexpected. So that definitely, but I think also, with a franchise model, you now have a peer network of all these fellow business owners, these fellow Woofie's business owners who are running their Woofies in their local community. So you now have this really big support system. You not only have the marketing and operations support from the franchisor, but you have your fellow Woofie's owners. And I think that's something that's really special because all of our owners that have come into our network, they're just really incredible people at their core. They come with very diverse business backgrounds, which I love. I love having different people coming into our network as an owner because they have a fresh perspective and a unique perspective. And all of them are adding so much value and they really are collaborating. And I just think that is one of the most special parts of being part of a franchise system.
It's that support, really, what that sounds like, and yeah. I love how you also started by that difference in the passion of where that's coming from, right? Because again, wrestling with that. Do I expand way over here and have a regional manager or somebody over there, somebody who doesn't have that? What you tapped into at the beginning of my success directly impacts my life, right? That is a little bit disconnected whenever it is an employee model who's running that from the top down. They don't quite have that drive versus somebody who is owning and operating that. Yeah, it's under the same name and branding and the policies and whatever, but there is much more incentive for that to get boots on the ground, to get that and make sure that it is running well.
They have the equity in it, absolutely.
Yeah, which is that it kind of changes that mindset of how do I do this? Well, I need to find somebody equally as passionate and invested in this as I am. Well,
absolutely.
Anybody who has employees will tell you that's kind of hard to find in a lot of cases. But if somebody is owning it and running it themselves, they have that equity, both in the passion, the personal commitment, the financial obligations, and all that tied up into that. It really does help drive that new location.
Yeah, I think the fundamental level of building your business, whether it is a franchise model or corporate model, the key is finding the right people and building a really incredible team. And I've seen, and I have, I don't know if you know this, I own the Delray Beach Woofies in Florida.
Yeah.
My husband and I bought it a year ago. But I have an incredible general manager, Liz, who runs the day-to-day, because obviously I'm running the brand at the higher level. So That's my job, and a very busy one. But, I love Woofies. I wanted a Woofies down here in Delray Beach where I now live. And I am so grateful that I was able to find a general manager like Liz. I mean, she truly runs the day-to-day operations and she just does an amazing job and is so fully committed. So absolutely, there are so many great people out there, whether it's a GM model or, in my case, like we've talked about equity, I love the idea of her building equity into this Delray Beach business. And over time, she may be the full owner of that, which I personally would love to see that. I think I love to see career paths for people who are passionate about animals, love to be in the business and have that commitment. And, finding somebody like Liz and several of our other owners have found really similar GMs that just are integral to the business. And that's just such an important piece, is to find those good people who will support your business and have that full commitment.
Have you heard of Time to Pet? Dan from NYC Pooch has this to say.
Time to Bet has been a total game changer for us. It's helped us streamline many aspects of our operation, from scheduling and communication to billing and customer management. We actually tested other pet sitting softwares in the past, but these other solutions were clunky and riddled with problems. Everything in Time to Pet has been so well thought out. It's intuitive, feature-rich, and it's always improving.
If you're looking for new pet sitting software, give Time to Pet a try. Listeners of our show will save 50% off your first 3 months by visiting timetopet.com/confessional.
Right. And it sounds like even whenever you are selecting, okay, who do I move forward with a franchise opportunity with, right? There's that vetting process of not just somebody who shows up with the check sign going, I'll pay you, right? Yeah. I got the money here. You're going, we've got a lot more process involved to make sure that you are going to, do well with this.
Absolutely. It is. I think in my role with Woofie's, I think the most important job I have is to bring on great franchise owners, because I owe that to our existing franchise owners. Anybody who comes into our system, it needs to be aligned with the culture, the vision, the values. They need to have that hyper local community focus, that very personal touch to their customers, that going above and beyond. They have to buy into that. And not everyone does. There are people that have looked at the opportunity and it's just very transactional for them. And that is not somebody we would bring into our system. They're not going to be happy. We're not going to be happy. Let's just cut it. It's, let's say nice to meet you and move on. Right. You really need to find people who have that shared passion. That is super critical to the success of this type of business.
What was it like getting your business ready to become a franchise? I know there's just a whole lot more here. That's probably 20 more podcasts worth of content, Amy. But if you're like somebody like staring at your business, how do you go from this is me and my friend and maybe a few employees to this will be immediately replicable to wherever we can set this down with the right people involved?
Yeah, it's a good question. It is a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of investment you need to put into it to do it properly. Mm-hmm. It's not something you wake up and say, oh, you know what, I'm going to franchise my company. That sounds great.
Scratch that off my plan tomorrow. Sorry. Okay.
But it is very doable. Franchising is a great business model. Absolutely. But you need to really understand everything that's involved. You're creating your business model. You're taking everything that you do operationally and documenting it. And it's funny when you start thinking about it, every single policy process, everything has to be documented. I mean, our operations manual, I think, is over 1,000 pages. And wow, I wish I had AI. That would have really helped. And made it probably sound a little bit better, but I can't tell you how many months and months and months we spent documenting down to every single detail. And you don't realize how many details in your day-to-day operations there are until you start having to document them. So, and we had the two sides of the business. We have pet sitting, dog walking, and grooming. So really it's two lines. So it was double the work there. But also then creating what does your franchise business look like, and what is the FDD, your franchise disclosure document, the legal document that governs the relationship between a franchisor and franchisee. You need to work with a law firm that specializes in franchising and will help put together an FDD that makes sense and is fair for both sides, the franchisor and franchisee, as you guys partner together. So, then the marketing, everything that you need to do. I mean, it's obviously very doable. There's tons of franchise opportunities out there. And again, I think it's a really great business model. The key is just knowing what you're going into, have the investment, and be prepared to invest. Because I feel if you're going to ask somebody, in my case, to run a Woofie's business, I need to give them 1,010%. I need to give them everything that I have. If they are coming to me saying, I want to own a Woofie's in my local community, I want to make sure I have the best FDD. I want to make sure we have the right marketing, the operations, everything that we need to do to support our franchise owners. And that's why we became part of Authority Brands. Our parent company is Authority Brands, and we became part of them in January of 2022.
Okay.
And that was a big reason why we did that, because we knew we wanted to scale our franchise system, but I wanted to make sure we did it properly and we had all the capital, the resources, the expertise of a parent company. So it's a really nice blend, because we run the brand, and it was super critical that we were able to maintain what makes Woofie's unique in a local community. I didn't want it to go corporate and turn into this like ridiculous corporate behemoth thing, because that is not what makes Woofie special, and that's not what we're about. And I know you know this, running your business, it is all about that relationship with your customers and that really personal touch. So I needed to make sure whatever we did, we maintain that at all times. But to have the cover of a parent company to give us those resources for our franchise owners as we continue to expand, that was extremely important as well.
Yeah, having those resources, the time and the details really is what that sounds like. And when you start, especially when you start thinking of going, I'm going to have to document over 1,000 pages of what I do, like that's, I'm sure that was also, I was going to say cathartic, but I don't know if that's the word, but like
it kind of was. Yeah.
It allows you to, like, especially when you're like, oh, I think this is how it should operate. But I'm sure as you were writing that down, you were able to go, oh, actually, no, like we're not operating like that, or let's actually change this because I'm externalizing this now, and it makes you better, right? That kind of process just makes you better. The more you document, because then you can refer back to it, you can have other eyes on it. And it makes you a lot more robust as a business. Regardless of whether you want to go in franchise or not, just documenting processes helps you, because you can now see, no, that's how it's supposed to be done. And you can judge and be more critical of it and say, should we do that or should we change it in some other way?
I love that you said that, because I agree. Whether you franchise or not, as a business owner, you absolutely should be documenting everything and learning, like we talked about earlier, like learning when something doesn't go 100% right. Okay, what happened? And then what process do we need to put in place so it doesn't happen again? But also, I think being hyper flexible. I mean, I look at 20 years, the industry has changed and evolved quite a bit, and you can't stay stuck in your day. This is how we did it in 2004. You're done if you have that mindset. You have to be very flexible. You have to go with the changes of the economy, the customer mindset, technology, all these different influences in your business, competitive landscape. That's constantly evolving and changing, and you have to be aware of it and react accordingly. That's something you have to be very, very flexible, I think, all the time.
Well, so how are you? How is Woofie's now that you have the multiple franchises out there? How does it work if you want to implement changes, and while also having that local flavor and that local implementation of things? How is there a balance there that you guys walk through, and how does that work?
Yeah, I think it depends what kind of changes you're talking about. At the end of the day, these are business owners, and we always tell our owners, this is your business, your Woofie's. You own your business. We're here. We're providing, the guidance and the template and, the 20 years of experience and the support. And there are certain things that are non-negotiable. You are offering pet sitting and dog walking and grooming. You can't open up a bakery, so like there's certain things, that are the core of the Woofie's franchise offering, right? The business model. But there are, we have some locations, maybe they utilize different marketing tactics. In some markets, the more traditional direct mail, door hangers, stuff like that works. And then in other models, it's doing tons of events and different things. So we work with our business owners on what works for your business and your market, and really understanding your market and that landscape. And if there is a change that needs to go system-wide, it's something that we want to prove out first. We want to make certain, you have to be very careful, like anything that is a change system-wide or an update, you really need to do your homework, make sure it's the right thing for the brand before implementing it. But there's a lot of also some leeway in a sense of it is a hyper local business, and we want, the Woofie's of Columbia might look different from Woofie's of Rochester or Woofie's of West Orlando a little bit because of the market that you're in. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it should be that Woofie's service. It should be there should be all those fundamentals in place. That's the same offering.
Yeah, that's just kind of an ongoing conversation, right? And as part of that too is how is the brand being used? I'm glad you brought up no, you're not just offering up a Woofie's bakery next to you, because that's not what we do. That's not how things are set up. But how you talk to people and what community events you're involved in, and how that stuff is where you get to see, okay, now I've just got to make this work. I've got to try and make this work in my local community, get the connections that I need, because at the end of the day, you said it is a hyper local community. I love whenever we get contacted by marketers and they'll say things like, I can get you on the airwaves in 12 counties to let you know. And it's like, no, that's a big nope for me, but thank you for the opportunity. It's getting to know that those people in your neighbors really is what that is.
It is. I mean, that's what this business is all about, is the relationship and the trust that you get from the customers. And, and that's why, for example, social media, that is really important. Like those local community groups, people go on there, all the time. Hey, I'm looking for a dog walker. Any recommendations? People trust their neighbors and people on social media, but also just word of mouth and also networking. We're very big on the grassroots marketing with our franchise owners in every market. That's something that's universal, is you need to be part of your local community, and you need to network with fellow business owners, network obviously and work with the local shelters and rescue groups. I mean, that's a huge piece of giving back as part of Woofie's. But also something that always surprises people, that don't come from the pet space, is you also should be networking with your local competitors. And it's really important, because at the end of the day, there might be a competitor in your area that, as the holidays come up, we know everyone has that frantic last minute pet sitting request. Oh my gosh, my neighbor fell through, or, the kid was supposed to do it and something happened, or something happened with a company. You want to have the relationship with your fellow business owners in the pet space, because, if you can't accommodate a client, or if they can't accommodate a client, you should be able to refer business back and forth. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure pets are taken care of. At the end of the day, that is what matters, is make sure those pets are taken care of. So we tell everybody, all of our new business owners, reach out to your local competitors, because you should know each other and be able to refer business back and forth when it's needed. And I think, because again, we have the end of the day where we are trying to do what's best for the animals. And this is the type of business, if somebody calls in and says, oh, I'm desperate, I need to get out of town, I need pet sitting. If for any reason you can't accommodate, the last thing you want to say is, sorry, can't help you, bye. Right. You want to say, you know what, I know Colin, give him a call. Their company is awesome. And, so I think it's just very important to have those relationships.
It is. It's to find those people, those businesses, those companies that you would feel comfortable leaving your pets with too, right? They're out there, right? And it is so necessary. There are more pets on the face of the planet than we could ever hope to, to service. And honestly, Megan and I talk about this. I don't want all that headache of trying to service, all of the pets in our service area, because just, that's a lot. And so I need to have trusted people who I can also commiserate with. We can talk to one another. We can help make sure that we're elevating the industry together, and that everybody's on the same page. Not that we're, price fixing or doing that kind of stuff, but when we're talking about best practices, like what's going on, what's working, what do clients need here? How can we serve our community? It gives you a much bigger picture of what is actually happening, because you'll be surprised when you talk to other sitters in your area. You'll be like, you encounter that? Like, that's a whole side of I've never seen that before. Oh my gosh.
It is. It's funny you bring that up, because when I first started with Leslie in 2004, in Northern Virginia, there was a Northern Virginia Professional Pet Sitters Network that was in existence, and they met once a month. And that is where I met Lydia Best, who I've been working with now for the last 7 years, but I've known her for 20 years. We were competitors. We were direct competitors. She had started her business a year before me. And we met at a networking meeting and just completely connected. We both came from corporate. We both had that, again, very shared passion for what we were doing of building a business, but building it right and doing this as a business. And we really connected. And I was so fortunate to meet her at that meeting 20 years ago. And we had two different approaches. Leslie and I had a small service area, and Lydia had a larger service area. So I referred anybody outside of my service area. I referred everything to her because I had that relationship with her. And when we started mobile grooming, she trusted me enough to refer her pet sitting clients in my territory to us for grooming. I would never have poached her clients for pet sitting. I had absolute respect for her business, and those are her customers. But we offered mobile grooming, whereas she didn't. So she referred all of those clients to us. And we always give that as an example of how great we work together. And we were direct competitors, but we referred business back and forth to each other. And thank goodness, because when somebody called me that was out of my service area, I had the confidence to say, call Lydia. She's a very good friend of mine. They will take amazing care of you. And she did the same for us.
That confidence is so great on the other end of the phone, because it happens to us too, where we know our service area, it's locked in. I'm not going outside of that. And your heart does
Which is very
sink.
smart, by the way.
Oh yeah, yeah. Your heart sinks whenever that somebody calls and that you realize, oh, you're 3 miles outside that. I can't go there, right? I'm not going that far. And if you don't have somebody to refer them to, you're kind of going, So finding those people so you can just say, no, with confidence, I can sleep. I can put my head on my pillow at night knowing I didn't go against our boundaries. I made sure we set those things, and I was still able to help that person. Like, that just helps the entire community be better.
I agree 1,000%. I think that is so important. In fact, when we talk about it, when our franchise owners are candidates, even evaluating the process to become part of Woofie's, and when they go through training, we talk about that. Like I said, we have that grassroots marketing, but a big piece of it is that competitive action plan. It is really important to meet those fellow business owners and your fellow competitors. And, and there might be especially like in grooming too, definitely on the pet sitting side, but in grooming, there might be a pet that would do better going to a vet for a groom or going into a salon for one reason or another. So you have to have those relationships. I never want a client to call any of our Woofie's owners if we can't help them for whatever reason. You better have a great referral, because that's the right thing to do. And that's where you have that credibility as a business owner. And it's just really important to have that. Now, not everyone is open to that, and if we tell our owners, it's okay. Sometimes you might get somebody that doesn't return your call, or they think it's a competitor coming in. There may be a little skeptical or anything like that. But the ones who understand it, like what the conversation we're having and how Lydia and I talked about it and understood immediately, those are the people that you want to surround yourself with.
Our friends at Pet Perennials make it easy to send a heartfelt condolence gift directly to someone with a broken heart. They have this awesome direct-to-consumer gift model that takes the effort off of us and ensures a thoughtful, personalized sympathy gift reaches our client, employee on our behalf. All gift packages include a handwritten card, colorful gift wrap, and shipping fees across both the U.S. and Canada. They also offer an array of milestone gifts and greeting cards that can be sent to celebrate birthdays, extend get-well wishes, and welcome new and even rescue pets. Additionally, there are gift choices in case you need to send a sympathy gift in memory of a special human client or celebrate the pregnancy, engagement, or wedding of a pet lover. If you're interested, register for a free business gift perks account to unlock the all-inclusive discounted package prices. The service is used on an as-need basis, so there are no monthly or annual obligations or minimum purchases. Learn more at petperennials.com. Check out their business programs or register for that free gift perks account by using the link in the show notes.
Yeah, what 3-4 phone numbers? That's really all it takes. You're not looking for a list of 100 people here, right? You're looking for that small handful of people who are really on board, understand they're rocking with it. You think they're doing amazing work, and you can refer. And now it might not work out for whatever reason, but you've done your part in that of going, here's a relationship that I've built. We're all on the same page. This is somebody who I would trust if I needed to watch my pets, and here you go. And that kind of customer service, that kind of help and community mindedness is a major aspect of what it means. You've talked about a lot of what it means to be part of Woofie's. That's part of having a strong brand identity. And I know a lot of people really struggle with, what does it mean to be me, right? What does it mean for me to identify? And I'm sure when you look to franchise this, that was something you had to solidify because you're now taking this and it's going across the country. It's going multiple states over, out of the context of where you originally raised it. What was that like, trying to define what it meant to be Woofie's, no matter where they were?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think we had a very strong brand identity from day one, because we knew very clearly who we wanted to be in this space. We wanted to elevate it, be upscale, but not corporate snooty, that piece. But as a brand, we want to be known for being part of that local community, a company you can trust, a premier provider of services, going above and beyond always, where you get what you pay for and then some, where we truly, it's a brand that can be trusted. And I think that was something that was very important to myself and Leslie from the very beginning. And we've really held on to that these past 2 decades. And especially as we started franchising, is making sure that Woofie's brand is consistent, whether you're in Kansas City, whether you're in, Space Coast, Florida, it doesn't matter. Like, you need to, when a customer calls in, the Woofie's experience needs to be the exact same. The brand, when someone sees the grooming van, which, we're fortunate we have that external imaging because of the mobile grooming, but the brand, from the look, the aesthetics, the look and feel of it, but it's also the experience. You have to have that brand identity, and that is why it's so key to bring on the right owners. Because if you don't bring on the right owner who doesn't align with the brand and the identity of the brand and doesn't support it, that's going to be a major problem, and that would impact other franchisees. It would diminish and devalue the Woofie's brand. So the brand imaging from the exterior, but also what the brand is all about, is really important.
Yeah, it's defining those things. Going, what does my company mean? When somebody sees my name, what should go through their head? And how are they going to know that? Yeah, there's marketing, but you can only say, we're trustworthy, right? It's like, well, usually trustworthy people don't have to say they're trustworthy. That seems kind of suspicious. Like, what? Okay. But like, did you follow through on your yes? Were you consistent with your no? Did you have a good onboarding experience? Did you do what you said you were going to do? It's an experiential trust that we have to build, because they are gifting us with a key and access to their home. Absolutely. We have to now take that and carry that with the reverence that it deserves, and going, that is what's going to fundamentally further this trust. It was an initial trust that they gave that to me, and hopefully through my branding, through my marketing, through my words, through their interactions with me, through the phone calls that we've had, they've developed some of that. But now that I'm actually in here, this is where rubber meets the road with this trust. And that's something that you can never really get back once it's gone.
Oh, 100%. And taking that a step further, we're talking as business owners, but now it's a responsibility as a business owner to bring on team members who reinforce that. You don't hire just to hire and have a body. I mean, this is not, I always say, it's not a transactional business. It is a relationship business. So anybody that you bring on board is an extension of you and your brand. And you have to be very careful the people that you bring on board and make sure they are aligned with your culture and your identity, what Woofie's is all about, because you're trusting them. You are trusting them to go into the clients' homes and to give that extra love and care and attention for the pets, and to go that extra mile when it, every time. So that bringing on those team members is so incredibly important in this type of business.
Yeah, because that's that consistency. I'm furthering this consistency outside of me. And how do I do that? well, I have to be intentional with who I'm bringing on. I also have to be intentional with my training, with my policies, with my procedures. Now, we might not have 1,000 pages. I'm still sweating over that, thinking about all that written down.
Again, we have AI. Don't worry now.
Okay, I was going to need to lay down after this, but going, how do I make sure that when whoever's in there is doing what they're supposed to do? That's my responsibility. And I've always thought of the term brand, and is of kind of, it's the side conversations people have when they hear your name for the first time. What are their initial thoughts that come up? Where have they seen, heard, read about you? What do they reckon you do or how you do that? That's what you're trying to influence, is that name, you're passing from one person to another. What are those people saying? How are they talking to one another? We can't influence everybody, obviously. But it is going, what can I intentionally do? How do I be consistent and true to my decisions in what I do?
Right. And, it's funny. People ask all the time, how did you come up and decide on the name Woofie's or the logo or the colors of the brand? All of that was very intentional. Everything had meaning from the very beginning of what do we want the brand to represent? It's up to us ultimately to provide that service and earn the trust of clients and to build the business. But from that first reaction, when someone hears the name Woofie's or sees the logo or sees the van, I want that to represent something. That's something that every business should think about early on. What do you want people to think when they see your name or see your website or your marketing materials? All of that, ties in. But at the end of the day, it's the service you provide, the team members you have on board. The brand is what people will associate with you. And that is incredibly important. You have to maintain that brand integrity forever. And that has to be such a high priority for everybody. But it's also prove it by the service that you guys are offering. Are you worth what your brand represents?
Yeah, prove it by your service. I think that's definitely a thing, because people buy in. And at that point, I've always thought about this of how do I get people to really buy into our service, because they can't experience it before they've experienced it. And it's kind of like selling a Disney World ticket. Like, you buy your ticket before you've ever gone there, but you can see that. But now once you show up and you're walking through those gates, you've got to experience all the hype. You've got to live up to what you've promised that person, and making sure those expectations are in alignment is really critical.
Absolutely. And that's why we do, and I'm sure you're operating the same way. Any new pet sitting, dog walking client that comes on board, we go to their house and we do an in-person consult. Yeah. I don't want you to go on an app and see a picture of somebody and click on them and hope it works out.
Right.
I, as the owner or a manager or somebody trusted in that role, that is one of the most important rules within the franchise system, is who's going out and doing that consult, because that is the first time you're meeting the customer face to face. You are learning about the pet's routine, everything to make sure that the experience is exceptional for them and that we have all the information that we need. We want to make sure we know the dog isn't a runner the second you open up the door, or he gets nervous when the owners are home and may not eat, but he loves when you put some Parmesan cheese on. I mean, all the different, little tips and everything, or are there any medical issues? Is there anything that we need to know to make us better caretakers? Mm-hmm. But that's where you establish that relationship with the customer. And that's where you begin building that foundation of, yes, you called us for one reason or another. You were referred by us. You saw us on the van driving by, or you Googled or went on social media and got some referrals from us. Somehow we got our foot in the door, but then when we get in there, that's where you really start establishing, this is what Woofie's represents. This is how we operate. This is how we are going to earn your trust and care for your pet, and hopefully build a very long relationship with you. So that in-home consult is so valuable. I couldn't imagine, and that is a non-negotiable. Like, that is one of the things we've talked about. When you bring on a pet sitting dog walking client, it is required. You must do an in-home consultation.
Yeah, I 100% in agreement with that. That is still part of the interview process, really, of making sure it's a good fit for everybody. Yes. Because up till that point, I have reviewed your documents that you've submitted online. I've talked with you on the phone, probably, and we've had some messages, correspondence back and forth. But now I'm going to walk in your home, and I have to get a sense of, is this going to be a good owner to work with? and is the pet meeting the expectations and what we can take on? And there are so many times where I'm looking at documents, I'm looking at answers and talking over with Megan, talking with our team, going, well, there's nothing here that's a red flag. So we're going to go into this, but I don't have a sense really. I've got to figure this out. And then you walk in, you go, oh, actually, no, thank you. Never mind that you didn't disclose that, or that's not okay. We can't do that. Oh, when you said, or, they'll say, oh, my dog has outdoor access. It's like, well, let's define that, right? They have 24/7 access to a doggy door, actually. Like, okay, you didn't tell us that. So now we've got to backtrack, or not necessarily backtrack, but just say, that's against our standards and policies. We wish you the best of luck, right? Like, we just can't take that on.
Or the clients who insist, no, you can have my dog off leash. My dog will never run. There are certain non-negotiables, like not on our watch. Absolutely not.
We just let them out. They love to go into the front. I'm glad you get to do that. No.
We are not doing that. No. Absolutely not. I am all about doing our very best to maintain the normal routine of a pet. But at the end of the day, when a pet is in our care, there are certain non-negotiables.
Right.
That being one of them.
Amy, what has this process been like for you personally? I mean, you've been growing 20 years ago, building, expanding, doing stuff. How have you handled all of that?
Well, I don't sleep.
Step one. Okay, cool.
Yeah, FYI. No, all kidding aside. It's been a very emotional process, because to see something that you started 20 years ago, that Leslie and I built together and started, and to see it evolve over the years, to see these new owners coming on board, and trusting us to open a Woofie's in their local community. It's very inspiring. It's a responsibility I take on tremendously, in the best way possible. I want to see them succeed. These are incredible people coming on board. It's really awe-inspiring to see these owners and to work with them. And when they have wins, we celebrate their wins. When they have challenges, we're right there with them. We feel it. So it's been a really incredible journey. And I feel in many ways it's still just starting, because, we're going through different stages in our business. We're growing and expanding our owners, continuing to do that. But really, how do we evolve as a brand, and how do we make Woofie's even better? Because you can't get complacent, you can't get comfortable, and you owe it to the franchisees to constantly have new either national strategic partnerships or new services or new marketing promos that we can do. We owe it to them to constantly arm them with more resources so they can be successful in their business. And, it's kind of come full circle, because I became a franchise owner again. And I love that, because I kind of look at Del Rey as, I'm grateful because I have Liz who is running it and, taking it, thank goodness, because she's just incredible. And I love to see her career path and her career growth, and hopefully into a Woofie's owner one day. But I love it because I get back into the day-to-day through Liz. I hear, what she's going through, and I, can guide her, and, but at the end of the day, I want her to have that autonomy and to run the business. But it's putting my head into, again, that of a franchise owner. And I think that's important. You can't ever lose sight of your franchisees. It's important to grow the brand, because that ultimately helps our brand. And anyone coming in needs to elevate it. But you can't ever lose sight of, these are business owners. This is what they go through each day. And to understand that and appreciate that and respect that. That's something. So I think my process is still evolving. I think it always will. But I love it. It's Woofie's is the my baby, that I had with Leslie 20 years ago. And it's now I don't know, in college. And so we'll have it continue to grow. So
yeah. Well, and to know that like it is a different level of thinking. Like you're thinking of these national level partnerships. How do I make things consistent and workable in each location too? Because I'm sure you've had these great ideas. You're like, this would be fantastic or whatever. But the hearing from the owners going, no, that would never work, or I don't know how we'd implement that stuff. So still having that connection really does help make sure that consistency and that brand identity remains strong.
absolutely. I tell the owners there's nothing I would ask you guys to do that I wouldn't personally do. And a lot of times too, I will run things through my Delray Beach as a test. Like I'll have Liz test out different ideas. And if they work, great, I'll share it with the network. If it flops, okay, that's fine. It's okay because, I think you always have to get in there and kind of think of how can we make this business better? Yes, we've been doing this for 20 years. We've learned a lot along the way, but there's so much more to do. And you have to always evolve your business.
Yeah, well, that's what it means to be a resilient business. It's constantly changing because what your business was adapted to and came up from 20 years ago is not the same environment that it's living in now, right? It's
absolutely
totally and completely different. So if you do just that word complacency, right? If we are just complacent in our business, go, well, I'm making enough now, or I've got enough clients now. It's very short-sighted in the end. Instead of thinking, what about 5 years from now? Or what's 10 years down the road look like given what I'm experiencing right now? And am I ready for that?
Well, and that brings up a good point. I mean, there may be some people that I'm good where I am. Like I don't want a big, massive business. I want to have my local pet sitting business, my book of clients that I know and trust. I know the animals and I'm good. I have a couple of sitters that work for me and I'm great. Or there's a lot of sole proprietors out there where it's them and them only. They don't want to manage anybody, they're not looking to scale. Yeah. And so, that's where, you kind of have to decide what is best for you. Like what is the type of business that you want? And there are those people who want to take it to that next level and expand. And then there's several that are like, you know what? The business is actually growing beyond what I planned or want to do. I want to just get back to the basics. I want to just take care of the animals. I don't want it to get stuck in all the business side of it and all the marketing and the this and the that. There are others that thrive on that and want that. But there are plenty of people out there that are, you know what? I got into this for the animals. I just want to take care of the animals.
Yep. And how do I do that? What does that look like? Do I need to partner with somebody else so that they can take on the administrative overhead? Do I need to bring, there's so many options there of as we are entrepreneurs running our own business, we get to decide which aspects that we would like to take on or put off to somebody else or, how we want to live our lives. Like that's a very, like you said, Amy, that's a very personal decision that we all get to make as far as what aspects are we going to be taking on.
Absolutely. I think back when I was running Ashburn with Leslie, we had 3 different scenarios over the years of smaller pet sitting companies in our local area that we had built a relationship with. They knew us, we knew them. But one of them retired and she reached out to us and said, I'm retiring. And she had, I think, maybe 20, 25 clients. So, wasn't, but these were clients that she had worked with for many, many years. And she said, I need to make sure they're in great hands. And so we took over those clients, we had a great, transition and those clients stayed with us to this day, and that was really important. Or if you have somebody that maybe, they're either retiring or they're moving out of the area, you'll find that people want to make sure that their pets are in great hands. That's because they've had that relationship over the years. Sometimes we've had people, like I said, that example of this has just become too much. I don't want to do the business side. Yeah. Or maybe we've had some people that want to go back to corporate for one reason or another, maybe a life change, they have to go back. They still want to do it on the side, but they don't want to manage all that business side. There's always options out there.
Yep, and we're very thankful for that, aren't we?
Yes.
We don't ever have to be the same tomorrow as we are today, and
Absolutely.
that's something to be hopeful for. Amy, I want to thank you for coming on the show today and for sharing about Woofies and all the cool stuff that you guys are doing and encouraging us to build into that brand, focus on the trust, and to dig into our local communities as well, of getting connected with other business owners, and that's just critical for our success and our clients as well. I know that there's a whole lot more here, and that you cover a whole lot more stuff, and you've got a lot going on. So what's the best way that people can get in touch with you and follow along with everything?
If anybody wanted to reach out to me directly, my email is Addington, Addington at woofies.com. We also have ownawoofies.com if somebody was interested to learn more about becoming a Woofies owner. And our website is woofies.com. You can go in if you are somebody in a local area where we have a Woofies. Reach out if they haven't already reached out to you. Network with, for those fellow pet sitting owners out there. Our owners absolutely want to network, and we all are serving the same purpose and, want to see animals taken care of, so I think any opportunity to reach out, that would be fantastic.
Okay. Well, wonderful. Amy, I'll have those links in the show notes and on the website so people can click right to those and get connected. This has been a lot of fun, and I really appreciate your time today, Amy, for coming on and sharing with us. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and congratulations to you, Megan, on your business. It's amazing. So thank you.
My biggest takeaway from my conversation with Amy was when she said, at the end of the day, this is not a transactional business. It's a relationship business. And that's what makes it so rewarding. I'll also add, it's what also makes it so difficult and challenging, because our relationship is both with the dog or the cat or the bearded dragon. It's also with the person, with the human on the other end of the line and the other end of our software or our texting. There's somebody there who has a problem, who has a concern, who has a need, who has had problems in the past and is looking to you to solve them. They need help, and we get to do that. No matter how big we do or do not grow our businesses, if we lose sight of that fact that we're helping people live a better life, we won't have a business for very long. This is a heart business, and that starts with us. We want to thank today's sponsors, Time to Pet and Pet Perennials, for making the show possible. And we really want to thank you all so much for listening. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll be back again soon.